Happy Monday, everyone. Hopefully, everybody's doing great. So, today we have great news. We have Christine going to teach us about a money mindset. Because one thing to have money in the bank, and another thing is how you're going to spend it. But another one is how you're going to think to use that money. What is the education that you have to have beforehand in order to spend that money? And without further ado, Christine, you can take the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad you guys can all be here. And as I am the money girl, we're going to continue to talk about money, but money in the aspect of how do we think about it, and how do we embrace it, and how do we not have or move away from some of those mindsets that one, for me, I feel like keep money away from you. How do you move away from the mindset of overspending money? And how do you let go of money when you need to let go of it so that your business can grow, right? Money is one of those things it's a source of stress. It's a source of anxiety. We find it difficult to navigate the complexities of personal finances. And then if you own a small business, how do we incorporate that into our business, right? So we have personal finance challenges that flow into what becomes a business finance challenge, and just recreating our mindset around all of those things so that we can move forward, so we can be productive, so our businesses can grow, and that we're not stagnant.
Yep.
I don't know. How do you guys consider your money mindset? Do you feel you have a loving relationship with it, or you have this scarcity relationship with money?
I would say that I have a loving relationship with it until the bank account tells me that I should not love it so much.
Or you loved it too much, right?
I believe me, I love using it.
You love using the card. Yes, yeah.
Christine, you said something that, for one thing, that I struggle with when you said letting it go. It's like I've worked so hard to get it into the bank account. I don't want to turn it loose for anything. So really struggling to validate that piece of software is going to actually be worth that money going out of the checking account. So making sure that I am making the right decision. I think sometimes I just obsess over that so much that I miss too many opportunities. So help me with that, please.
I've been working on it for a very long time, and I don't think that that's something that you ever really complete, right? Anything that has to do with mindset is something that you're constantly working on, and you take a couple of steps forward and then you realize, wait a minute, I just took a step back. What just happened, right? And you start over again and you keep working at it. And I don't want to get ahead of you, but one image, and actually listening to Tori talk too, one image that I heard a while ago that I keep coming back to that helps me a lot is the fact that money's called currency for a reason, right? And it's like a current of water. As long as it's flowing, then it's fine. But if you block it and it becomes stagnant, it just rots and it's stinky and it's nasty and it doesn't help anybody, right? So it's that image of allowing it to flow that has helped me quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true. That's one of those things. I think I believe in the exchange of energy, right? And money and currency is a form of energy. We're exchanging it for something, whether it's a thing or an experience, or in order to build our business, it's an exchange, and that energy has to flow back and forth. But what do we want? We want it to flow in a way that is beneficial for long-term growth, sustainability, mental health, all of those things. So one of the first things I like to talk about is the psychology behind our money mindset, right? We all have these beliefs about our finances, about what money means to us, whether it's based on the way you were brought up, your cultural background, your religious beliefs, and I think more than that, our experiences. What have been our experiences with money in the past? Cultural belief, for example, I'm a West Indian, and we believe in, like, you don't put your money in the bank, and cash is king, and don't have any credit cards, and that sets you up for one set of actions, right? Beliefs about your religion. You believe that you must tithe or everything's going to fall apart. And if you haven't, then what's going to happen? No money will come to me. Nothing will move forward. So you have that belief. And then you have beliefs about our experiences. How has money personally affected us? If you've been in a situation where you haven't had enough money to provide your basics, a roof over your head, food, clothes on your back, or something as simple as, okay, I'm going to get my tire changed, and the guy ripped me off and stole my money. So all of these things play into our mindset, the way we think about how we are going to move in this world with something that we can't live without. Whether it's, in this day and age, whether it's digital, if it's credit, or if it's cash. We really can't. We're not in a barter system. So unfortunately for us, we have to learn how to navigate our world with moving around with money. I don't know if you guys have any personal experiences with that aspect of how money, your upbringing or the experiences has really affected how you move in your space with your finances.
Marcy looks like she has a thought.
Yeah, Marcy, you look like you have something.
I was just thinking about my dad. My dad had this mantra, and it was in Spanish, but loosely translated, he said, "The last bill is paid by the devil." And so so he didn't he didn't have any qualms about pulling out the credit card and borrowing from one place to pay another, because that was his mantra. The last bill, well, the devil pays that one. So he was very casual about it. And I am still trying to decide whether that helped or hindered me.
I know I've dealt with people in my life where, they have $5, it's burning a hole in their pocket. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, did we really need to buy it? Did we really need to go to that place? But, it's like, for them, it's connected to, it's an emotional connection. It's an emotional connection. So, but there we start with the psychology behind our money mindset, right? We have all of these things that have set us up to direct us how we want to move in the world, right? And that's going to determine how we navigate and the choices that we make.
But then I also wonder, because I have 2 kids, and they're completely opposite when it comes to handling money. Like the oldest, she's like Tori was saying, she has such a hard time spending even a penny. Like she will do everything in her power, even to get her dad to pump gas in her car so she don't have to pay for it. Right. So it's that level of it. But then my other one, she has 2 cents and she's like, what can I buy with 2 cents? Right. So it's completely different. So it makes me wonder.
And all from the same household, right? And you just have this, we just adopt what feels better to us, what feels safer, what makes us, and ultimately what makes us happy in the process. And for some of us, holding on to the money absolutely makes us happy. We love to see the numbers in the bank account. We like to open our wallet and see the money there. We like to see those zero balance statements. Who doesn't love that? And then the rest of them, there's some people who are like, I'm only living this life one time. Spend it.
YOLO!
Yeah, exactly. YOLO. We're throwing up our hands and all the dollars are flying everywhere. Not to worry. We're going to get more money tomorrow. But that puts us in the cycle of what? Living paycheck to paycheck. Where we haven't planned, or we haven't been purposeful or intentional with our finances. But there's good news, right? Our mindset is not immovable. It is not stagnant. We can be in this growth mindset, and the things that we've learned, we can unlearn by habit, right? And Marcy, later on, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about your program that you just had, or your podcast about habit. And I would, love for you to share some of that with them. But yeah, a habit. So we can change our mindset through habit and practice.
Or if we know that our tendencies are X, Y, and Z, and we remember that our kids are gonna copy exactly what we did,
Yes.
we can early on start them on the right path. Last week, I opened my daughter's first bank account, and I gave her all the right information. And she's like, "Did you do that yourself?" I'm like, "Nope." But I had to be honest.
Right. Do as I say, not as I do. Right.
Well, I'm doing a little bit better, but I keep telling my daughter, if I would have known about these rules, that would have been a good start. I learned them when I was like 19, 20. So by that time, it was too late to start a habit. I mean, it's never too late, but
it's never too late.
I was on the make 5,000, spend 6,000 kind of habit at that age.
Yeah, listen, I've been guilty of it in my younger days, where I've just been like, my mother, God rest her soul, was a wonderful woman who gave me an American Express Gold card at the age of 19. And I lived a fabulous life for about 3 months because she was paying the bill. And then she said, okay, like you can spend like $75 a month on this thing, not what you've been spending, enough. So you get into that cycle of, it's free money, no problem. The devil's gonna pay it, right? It's gonna pay the last. I'm not worry about it. No worries until reality hits. So the next thing I want to talk about is separating our emotions from our money decisions. Money is so emotional, right? Like I said before, it makes us happy, it makes us sad. We worry about it, we have anxiety about it. But when we want to make good financial decisions, we have to take the emotion out of it. And what does that mean? That means, looking at the pros and cons of the expense, right? Making these, God help us, these rational decisions that are so hard when we want the new purse, or we want, the fancy dinner, and really, is it in the best interest? Or you want that new shiny piece of equipment for your office, but the piece that you have now, does it already work? And or do you need the $6 pen versus the $1 pen? It's all of these little things that add up, and not being attached to the emotion of how we spend our money is probably, for me, I think, one of the hardest things to do, because it is so visceral. So trying to make choices based on logic, based on analysis, like what's the return on investment on this purchase? We're talking about our business here. What's the return on the investment on adding this piece of software, right? Because Tori talked about software, like, why is it going to make me more productive? And in turn, make me more money? Having a virtual assistant, is it extending that and being able to outsource that? Is that going to ultimately free up my time to make more money, to make more contacts? And that's really those are not emotional decisions. Those are numbers, right? You can run a financial analysis on what it costs you and what the return of your time and your money will be for making that type of investment. So putting the interest of your business above the emotional need to either hold the money or spend the money, so it can go either way. The next thing I like to do is surround myself with people who have good money sense, right? With those positive influences. let's immerse ourselves in people who have the positive mindset, who are successful, and you can see that in how they're running their business. And when you have conversations with them, I think a lot of business owners get into that. If you're in masterminds and you're in closer relationships, we will talk about money, and we will talk about how we have invested in our businesses or in ourselves or in our education in order to move us forward. So you want to surround yourself with those people who feed the positive, right? Who are going to offer you information about things that you have no idea about. Like, we don't know what we don't know until we've surrounded ourselves with other people who know more than us, that are in a different place in our lives and where we may aspire to be. So surround yourself with those people that you have aspirations to be like. Mm-hmm. I think we had someone on our podcast, a live stream a couple of weeks ago, Belinda, and she was one of those people. I was just like, okay, my mind is completely gone. And she just had so much insight, and surrounding yourself with people like that will lead you in the areas to be wise with your money, because you got to be able to play in their sandbox. And sometimes you have to have money to play in their sandbox.
A lot of times you have to have money to play in their sandbox. I do have a couple people that I met through networking, and they spend $1,000 a day like it was nothing. And I say a day. So yeah, you do have to, in order to hang out with those people, you have to have that extra cash laying around, but you get to learn so much from how they think, how they run their businesses.
Yes.
Well, and that's really true. And you brought up Belinda when she was on, and that's something that, when you're investing in your business, you've got to make sure it's an investment. A lot of times I run into clients who suffer from shiny object syndrome. They're like, let me purchase this particular piece of software or this device, and it will solve all of my problems. And they don't monitor how much money they've truly spent. And then they'll bring me on, which is great, because now I'm trying to figure this out. And I'm like, but you already had bought something 4 months ago that if you just dived in and learned that product, that would have solved all of your issues. So, when I was talking about, it's hard for me to turn loose of money. Should I invest in this piece for my business or that? It's because I've seen clients go crazy and they've wasted a lot of money, where if they just took that time, took a beat, took a breath, learned, hired a virtual assistant, hint, 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 come in and help you out, it would have been a better investment of their money. So, and it's a slippery slope. I mean, you get a little bit of money in your pocket, like the 2 cents for your daughter. What can I buy with this? I mean, it's going to burn a hole in your pocket, and you want to have that. I think that was it, that dopamine hit of, ooh, look what I just bought. This is fun. What can I do with it?
Yeah, and there's also, I also think that there's a fine line in those relationships, because we can easily go from modeling the things that work to the comparison, right? And the keeping up with the Joneses element to it, right? So when you are finding that group of people to surround yourself with, make sure that you're clear on what the intention is, right? You're not there to be exactly like them and to do everything that they're doing. You're there to learn as much as you can of the positive part of things, what you can actually emulate that is going to lead you in the right direction. And I think that goes for any mentoring relationship, right? Like, it's so easy for us to fall into, oh my goodness, but they're doing this and they have all these things, so that means I must do the exact same thing and have all the exact same things. No, not necessarily. Just ask the right questions, listen intently, make sure that you are keeping clear on where you are as compared to where they are, right? Because you would never expect a 10-year-old to do the same thing that an 18-year-old can do. So it's the same thing. I'm at the 10-year-old stage, you're at the 18-year-old stage. I have to separate some things, right? And if we are conscious of these things and stop the comparison in terms of it has to be exactly the same. No, it doesn't. You just learn what serves you and
Right.
put the rest on hold, at least for now. Know that there might come a time when you can, but right now this is on hold because this is the step I'm in. And so that's really important to separate.
And not only that, there are things that I have learned with these people that I'm too afraid of doing it at this point. I have two of them that keep telling me that they have a savings plan and everything, but every month, towards the end of the month, they spend till the last penny on their bank account, so they start the next month with zero. And I'm like, okay, that's scary, but they do it every month.
Yeah, I know people
They're
who
like,
do that
"That's
every
just what
year,
keeps me
but
hungry."
yeah.
And what's the mindset? I would love to know what the mindset
The mindset
behind
is that keeps them hungry.
it keeps them hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah. They put their money aside, like things that they're never gonna touch, so they know that if God forbid something happens, they have something to fall back on.
Mhm.
But towards the 30th of the month, they will see how much money they have on their bank account, and they'll figure out how to spend the whole thing. It doesn't matter how. They will spend the whole thing, so they will start the next month at zero.
Yeah, I
I
know
think
people.
sorry.
I know people who do that yearly. So they call it a slush account, and they have this money that they're saving, and then near the end of the year, most of the people that I know give it to charity or something like that. So they look for a positive way to spend it, but they make sure that it's down to zero at the end of the year, and then they start rebuilding it the following year. It's their way of keeping like the momentum going.
Yeah, I guess that's a definitely an interesting way of doing it, and I'm sure there's the theory. The theory behind it is that it will attract it. You're not only you hungry, but the cycle of attraction, right? You attract more. The universe will give you more of what you need because you handle it well. And I'll talk a little bit about that. That's my how do I marry my spiritual and how do I think about my money? You know, all of those things. I like to put them all together because they've served me well. They've served me well. So the next thing, we're talking about not comparing ourselves and remembering that we are not in a race with anyone else except us. And I think in order to do that, we need to set goals, right? And I love realistic financial goals, right? And they're smart goals, right? What's smart? What's a smart goal? You set specific goals, right? You set goals that are measurable. You set goals that are achievable. Now, you know, I can't say in 30 days I will have made, you know, $1 million. Like you have to set things that are achievable, right? You want to set goals that are relevant to you in your current situation, not anyone else's situation, not anyone else's business, not what anyone on TikTok is doing or Instagram. What is relevant for you? And you want to set a time limit. It has to be bound by time. There must be a start date and there must be an end date. That's the SMART goal. I have another one that I like to have. I know we talked earlier about emotion, detaching your emotion from your goals or your financial, but I think having a positive emotion, right? An emotion that moves you forward, one that is your why, helps further your SMART goals. And you want to break those things. You want to break them down into small milestones. You want to create a plan that's achievable. I had this thing with my son, and big goal. You want to be an engineer, right? But sometimes your abilities take you only so far, right? So break them into you see engineer school is what? I don't know, 8 years maybe for you to go, 7, 8 years. Okay, so let's take it in smaller chunks. And they may require you to do 2 years, get your associates, then get your bachelor's, then get your master's, and then get your training. So, you know, if you break things down into small, palatable bites where you can see success, because that's the key for adults, for children, is to set yourself up for success. And some of that may mean making the goals short-term goals. So you have short-term goals, you hit those, you achieve something, you celebrate the fact that you've achieved it, you give yourself that pat on the back, and then you move on to the next step of the goal. What's the next step until you reach to your timeline and the goal that you have set for yourself, right? So your financial goals, that SMART goal process should motivate you and move you towards success.
Yep.
Marcia, you had something to say.
Not really. I was just thinking about your conversation about your son. One of the things that I think we lose sight of is that there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I've always hated that expression, but you know what I mean. Sometimes we sit down and we think, oh, if I am going to get from A to B, it's this route or this route only, and there's no other options. That's not true. There's 1.5 million ways to get to your destination. And I often tell the story of my honeymoon when my husband and I went to California, and it was before GPS, before all these things. So we were actually using a paper map, and I was the navigator, and we were going from Anaheim, where Disneyland is, up to Los Angeles, and I fell asleep. And my husband, being a newlywed, was afraid to wake me, so he just let me sleep. By the time I woke up, we were like 1.5 hours away from our exit, and we were completely lost, and we had no clue. So we had to stop and get directions, but we still got there, right? So it's not so much about going in a straight line towards your goal. It's about understanding that as long as you're taking movement in a direction that takes you generally in the way that you want to go, right, you can figure out the rest as you go. And I also like the analogy of the steps. The highest staircase in the world is in Switzerland, I believe. It's called Mount Niesen, and it has 11,736 steps. And people race to the top of that staircase every year. But there's fog and it's distance, so nobody at the bottom of the steps sees the 11,736 step. They can't see it. But as soon as you take one step, you see one more. And as soon as you take the next one, you see another one. And they continue to reveal themselves as you keep moving forward. So it's just important to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Right. Keep moving forward. Right. But it's important that you have a goal, you have a destination.
Absolutely.
You're very specific about what it is you want to accomplish. You're able to measure what it is you want to accomplish. You're able to, it's achievable. It's something that makes sense. Like, I'm not going to be a doctor tomorrow, so let's forget about that. My company will not be a multi-million-dollar company in 30 days. But you have the goal, and you can have a 1-year plan, you can have a 5-year plan, you can have a 10-year plan, but you have to have that plan. You have to have a plan in place that gives you a roadmap. Right? You need a roadmap so you can at least know that, okay, this is my destination. Now, how am I going to get there? And it's okay to stumble and take wrong turns and backtrack and revisit your goals and decide you can change them, you can pivot, but you have to have an initial plan in place. So at least you know where it is we are going. We have to know where we're going before we can get there.
We can change the route, but not the destination. That's
right. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's what it does. The other thing I like to advocate for is continuing education. Learn the things that you don't know about. For me specifically, I'll talk about me. I always struggled in school with math. It was my hardest subject, the one that gave me the most challenge. I have 2 accounting degrees, 1 in finance, right? This is the route that I chose because I chose specifically to continue to educate myself in these areas. I wanted to make sure that the things that I find challenging, that I have some knowledge base in. Have some knowledge, take a course on, you don't know what your what a cash flow report should look like. Google it. It's on it. You can Google it, you can watch a video, learn what you should be looking at. You don't know how to create a SMART goal worksheet. I have one and we'll probably post it for you guys, but you can look that up and it will walk you through the process of how to create the goal. Go to seminars. webinars, listen to the podcast, continue to educate yourself so that you're not caught unaware or without any knowledge base of how you can change your mindset, or how you can work with your money in a way that's more efficient and more productive for you. So take the opportunity to learn, because we're in this great age now of where everything literally that we want to know is available to us at our fingertips. And the onus as business owners ultimately falls back on us to learn that information, or at least seek it out, and then seek out someone who can provide it to you. And that's the great thing. We're all connected through this wonderful world of the web, and you can seek people out who will sit with you and give you the information that you don't know. And a lot of it is free. So I tell people all the time, I'm from Jersey. If it's free, it's for me. So I'm definitely looking for the free option, to at least get the basic foundation of the things that I don't know about money.
You're muted, John.
You're muted. I think.
Thank you. Or like Tori was mentioning earlier, there's people that may not know how to do it, but are too busy doing what they're doing best. And then you also seek out for professionals like Christine, Marcy, Tori, to give you the hand on the right area to help you grow. Because sometimes it's okay not know everything.
Right.
Get grasp of the basics and let a professional handle it as well.
Yep.
Absolutely. You don't want to feel. I think that's a hard thing for us too. When we're in this space where we feel like we have to know everything, or that we're required to know everything, we're required to do everything, and that's not the case. But as a business owner, being aware of how you think about the money and how you handle your money in your business, that's a must know. Can you farm it out to someone else? Absolutely, you should, because it's not what you do. But don't do it blindly. Don't do it without taking ownership of the fact that it's still your business, and you should have some basic financial understanding of how that's run, how that runs.
And not only on finances, this applies to everything.
Everything, right?
Because as you know, I run my marketing agency, and I've met more than once with clients that tell me, yeah, I hired such and such company in 2, 3, 4, 5. There was one 8 years paying to the company their monthly retainer. They never saw a penny on the return on investment.
Oh wow.
8 years. And so I asked him, so what happened? Well, I don't know. I just gave him access to everything, and that's it. That's all I know. So it is important to understand the basics: finance, marketing, mindset, anything, in order to farm it out. Yes, you can farm it out. You should farm it out. You should become a professional delegator.
Yes.
Understand the basics.
Yes. Understand the basics. I think, those couple of tips are like the meat and potatoes of how we can transform our money mindset. But I am also big into believing that you can call it what you want: God, the universe, the earth, people's vibrations, energy. What you put out is what you get back. Mm-hmm. Right? So creating that mindset of abundance, that I'm entitled to be okay. I'm entitled to not be hungry, or my business is entitled to be successful, because there's more than enough. I don't care if there's 50 million accountants or consultants, or lots of people do what I do, and that's absolutely fine. There is more than enough out there for them, and there's more than enough out there for me. So I really believe in this mindset of abundance, and speaking graciously about the things that you already have, expressing gratitude, and staying in alignment with that gratitude so that more of it returns to you. Mm-hmm. What do I talk about? I talk about I love visualization. it's one of the few things that I see. People tell me, visualize the white light, the green light. And I am totally not that person, but I can absolutely visualize myself in a place doing something that I want to do. And I know that it's going to require X amount of finances to do it. So then I can put myself in that space. So how much money do I want to see in my bank account? I believe in manifestation of what is in the universe, so you can visualize some of those things. And it's not going to be tomorrow, and it's not visualization only. There is action that is required in order to bring all of these things to the forefront. Nothing happens without movement. But having the mindset of it's possible, it's attainable, and I'm absolutely with work. It's something that I can have and that I deserve to have. So transforming some of those negative thoughts and reframing them so you can be in the place where you're able to receive. And then once you receive, having gratitude for everything that you have.
Scientifically speaking, just so that everybody can buy into this idea, even those who are more logical and less inclined to think about anything that doesn't feel palpable, right? But scientifically speaking, there's this thing called the RAS, the reticular activating system, which is the part of our brain that makes sure that whatever we're focusing on is proven to be what we want it to be or what we're working for it to be, right? So that's why, for example, if you're about to get in an accident and you see a wall and you're like, don't hit the wall, don't hit the wall, don't hit the wall, what's going to happen? You're going to hit the wall, right? Because that's what you're focusing on. And it's the same part of the brain that once you decide on the car you want, you see it everywhere, even though you didn't see it before, that kind of a thing, right? Because our brain is designed to lead us to whatever goal we put in front of it. So it's a goal achieving machine through the reticular activating system. So when we check our language, and this is something that I work with people on a lot, is when we check our language, most of the time the results we're seeing match the language we've been using, right? The way we've been speaking to ourselves, not because necessarily of anything out there, but because of the way our brain works, period. And it's scientifically proven. So when we switch our language to match what we want, as opposed to the things we're worried about, or what we desire, as opposed to the things we don't. And it's funny because 90% of the people, when you ask them, what do you want? They will tell you what they don't want. Right? If you tell them, what do you want? They'll tell you, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be stressed. I don't want to be tired. I don't want to be, but no, what do you want? And it's so hard for so many people to tell you what they actually want. And that is why we don't have what we want. So when we start shifting the language so that our brain knows to look for what we actually want as opposed to what we don't want, then we start seeing the results turn in that direction as well.
Oh, that's really interesting, Marcy. I mean, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but when you think about it, okay, yeah, most people that they will tell you what they don't want. And they're doing that based on an experience that they've had. And so they're being reactionary versus the flip side of, what do I want in doing that work to try and discover, because it hasn't happened yet. So
yes, absolutely.
We're basing our actions on the past instead of the future.
Absolutely. And I'll give you another quick thing to think about, that when I heard it first, and it's not my thing, I learned it from this guy called Rex Crane, but when I first heard it, it was like a slap in the face. If you take the word reactive, you take the C in the middle and you move it to the front of the word, and suddenly you have creative. So the difference between reactive and creative is that your choice when you're reactive is in the middle of the circumstances being squished. And when you're creative, you're moving your choice to the front. So you're making a choice first. So it all depends on how quick you are to make a choice and make a decision and act on that choice, right? So that's the difference between a reactive lifestyle and a creative lifestyle, which will then put you in a position to have the experience that you need in order to think about what you actually do want.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of us don't know what we want. We know what we don't want.
That's what I
said. But to articulate what it is that I really want for my life, my business, is a different, it requires a lot more thought. And you're right, it requires the language to know what it is I want, and approaching it from that aspect. Approaching it from that aspect. Yeah, language is a big. My husband likes to say, words mean things. So when you say them, know that they have a consequence, negative or positive, but they mean things, and it creates an environment, right?
Yep.
It creates an environment. Yeah, wonderful. So I mean that's. So, let's do a quick recap, right? I mean, this is, money mindset is one of those. It's one of those things. We struggle with it. We have deep-seated beliefs about it, but we know, or at least now we know, that it can be changed. Right? When we put a plan into place, we execute our SMART goals. We try and make decisions based on logic and on our need for our business, on analysis, connecting with those people who can help us make those decisions, and surrounding ourselves and immersing ourselves in environments where we can learn different. We can learn different than we already know. I think those are some key things for success in helping us switch our money mindset.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So with that, now we have tools. Now if you have questions, we have Marcy and Christine to go over the mindset and the actual financial plan for your business, or who knows, your personal. Even sometimes you need that little check in life. So on the meantime, thank you very much. Anybody has anything else to add? Christine?
No, that's
No?
it. I'm glad I hope everyone got something out of it, and we can move forward with our positive money mindsets. And I'm absolutely available if anyone has any questions. I would love to hear from you guys. I'd love to read your comments. So please reach out to us.
Yeah, and if you have any issues with the language piece, with the using the words effectively and all these things, I have a workshop coming up the 20th. I will post a link in the group in case you want to register, but we're going to be mastering the power of words.
Awesome. Okay.
Wonderful.
So without further ado, thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.